TG Geeks, episode 257, January 20th, 2020. It takes a chief. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane. We're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, where the weather's not too bad today.
Not too bad today, and I'm actually kind of...
It's a long weekend, too.
It is, yeah, for both of us. Wahoo. And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from the lovely TG Squared Studios, and just realizing that this episode is going out on a rather auspicious day. Think about it. The 20th day of 2020.
The 20th day of 2020. 2020.
So there you go.
2020. And we have a special guest.
She's listening in
the studio with us today. She's just listening.
She's not behind a mic.
She's not behind a mic. But we have... good friend of ours, Corey Nelson. Welcome to our little podcast abode here. So we're going to just get right on with the show.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we're going to talk to Erica and Kassia. They are the director, writer, and producer of a film called Little Chief. It is a short film that will be premiering at Sundance Film Festival here later on this week. And you can check that article out. We ran a press release on that. So we're going to talk to them about that film, and we have kind of a connection together with that film, or I do anyway. Then we're going to have
I wonder if people can figure out what that is now.
Yeah, exactly. And we have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, everybody's favorite feedback, a few shout-outs, and then in our second segment, we're going to talk about stuff.
And because we don't know if we'll have the time.
And our weekly recap, and then regular shout-outs. And that's what we are doing in this episode. So we're going to get right on with it. And this time we welcome to our show Erica Tremblay and Kassia Chmielinski. And they are, Erica's the director and producer, and Kassia's the producer of a film called Little Chief that is doing having its world premiere at the Sundance Film Festival later on this week. So welcome to the show, Erica and Kassia.
Hello.
All right. So who wants to go first? And Erica or Kassia, tell us who you are and kind of how you got into filmmaking.
Start with Erica.
Go ahead, Erica.
Okay.
Sure. Seneca-Cayuga. I started, I guess when I was younger, I was super interested in storytelling in Haudenosaunee culture, and I grew up near my nation, the Seneca-Cayuga Nation in northeastern Oklahoma. Storytelling is super important in terms of how we communicate. And I just was always really interested in stories and how to tell them and different ways to tell them. And as I was growing up, I was really into photography, and then my mom, finally, I convinced her to buy one of those old VHS recorders, which is really dating myself and showing my age here.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in very good company.
Exactly.
But I used to take that video recorder, that huge, heavy video recorder all over, and I would record, routines on the trampoline with my sister, and then I would edit tape to tape. And as I got older, I kind of started to do things that were a little bit more complicated and advanced, and I just really loved it. And I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to go to school, and I went and I got a media degree They didn't have a film program where I was at, but I tried to pick something that was as close to that as possible. And just ever since then, I've been really wanting to make film. It was super hard. I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand what was happening, but I've always wanted to be a writer-director. But to be a young female trying to break into that industry is really difficult. And there weren't a lot of mentors that I had to look up to in terms of being surrounded by female filmmakers. And so I kind of saw all these younger guys that I was coming up with getting all these opportunities, and I didn't have access to making narrative film. So I kind of fell into doing documentary, which doesn't mean that it isn't challenging or as rewarding, but I was able to just find stories and follow them with a camera, and I didn't need a huge elaborate set or a bunch of resources. And so I fell into documentary filmmaking, and I did that for years and have been doing it, and I'm still doing it and love it. But Little Chief is my first kind of entry into narrative filmmaking. So it's exciting.
Wow,
Nice.
that's incredible. I go back to the Super 8 days, so I grew up.
Now who's dating themselves?
Yeah, we have a connection. I have a connection with Erica.
Yeah.
I grew up in northeastern Oklahoma as well, so not far from where she grew up. Well, probably 80 miles or 90 miles, something like that. So it's,
yes, and most of the people I ever talk to don't even know that Oklahoma is really exists. So it's it's a miracle that you do.
And,
Hey, there's a musical, please. It exists.
Yeah, the thing about Muskogee, where I grew up, is we prided ourselves of having the council house of the five tribes, the five big tribes, the Cherokee and whatnot. And we're 25 miles from the Cherokee Nation, so it's really interesting that there are so many other Indian nations or Native American nations and tribal lands in Oklahoma that people don't even know about, and it's fascinating history. So.
Yeah, and one other thing I just wanted to add into my introduction is that I use she/her pronouns.
She/her pronouns. Okay, great,
Not a problem.
Yep.
and thank you for that, because that's become a big thing, and it really is. Thank you for being a proponent of that and inserting that. We need to do that a little bit more ourselves. I've put that on our Twitter profiles, so that is an important thing.
Excellent.
So, Kassia, tell us about you.
Yeah, sure. I guess also in the spirit of gender transparency, I use they/them pronouns, and so
Okay.
also, thanks for being open. It's great to see how things are changing and so rapidly too.
Yep, exactly. So, tell us about yourself and where you came from and how you got in filmmaking and how you got attached to this project, and then we'll talk about the project.
Sure. So I see myself as having always been adjacent to a lot of different forms of art. I'm so thankful for growing up in an environment that was really rich in all sorts of diversity. My mom's a painter, my brother's a painter, there's a lot of musicians in the family, and so I have a very mixed background. I'm mixed race as well, and also identify as non-binary, and so it's just a lot of things happening there. And in growing up that way, I realized that everything is man-made, right? So every perspective is just that, it's a perspective.
Exactly.
And that really allowed me to kind of branch out and get into whatever it was that I really felt like I was passionate about. So I actually ended up studying physics. So I'm kind of a
Wow.
tech person.
Oh, cool.
Wow, that's esoteric.
Yeah, well, we recorded an episode. Edward Teller's birthday is this week. Now it's going to be past by the time this episode airs, but that was kind of an interesting thing.
Well, we're
big physics nerds too.
We love science.
Yeah, I mean, who's not a big physics nerd? Come on, if you live in
Yeah.
this world, you have to be a big physics nerd, right?
Yeah.
It's governed by all these physical rules.
Yeah.
So I studied physics, and it was pretty theoretical, and I realized at the end of that I actually wanted to build and launch things that were more kind of tactical and practical. And so I ended up going into software. So I went into technology. I build software for a living. I also work on ethical artificial intelligence. I'm kind of all over the place.
Wow.
And I guess the thing that I found out over time is that it's really about people, and it's about making real things and getting things out there with people that you like. And it's also about representation. So if you don't see yourself at that table, if you're not invited to it, then you find a way to be at that table, or you make your own table.
You crash the party.
You know,
I like that.
Exactly. You have your own party, right? You don't have to be part of their party anyway.
Yeah.
So
crash their party first and then have your own party.
Exactly.
And make everybody feel uncomfortable until they come around.
Exactly. You know how it goes.
Yeah. Trust me. Anyway.
So I ended up, I lived in LA. I was working at a startup. I'd kind of been on the founding team of a startup in fintech and financial technology. And I met Erica, and I kind of got this gravitational pull into making movies. And it might sound like it's different, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's about representation. It's about finding people that you want to work with and then making something and really getting it out into the world. And so we started working together on documentary projects. And then over time, we expanded that repertoire. And it was really so important to work with such an inspiring team and crew on this project. And I was really excited to be part of it. So that's the way that I got pulled into all of this. Strange background, but to me, it feels pretty connected and linear.
Yeah.
Well, given your background, you are a true Renaissance person. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, wow, science and this is a form of art. Being involved in film, so I feel so insignificant, Sonny.
No, not at all. You guys have a podcast. That's awesome. I listen to
it's just a podcast. It's just a podcast.
Yeah, we've done a lot of things. I mean, we're going on our 6th year now, so it's we've we're not practicing anymore.
I figured
we're professionals at it.
Those who can't do podcasts.
Exactly.
Those who can't talk to people who do.
Exactly.
Which is what we're doing.
So tell us, Erica, about this project, Little Chief. This is, it's a narrative film, and an interesting premise. So tell us about that without spilling the beans, shall we say.
Give us the elevator pitch.
Yeah, there we go.
Sure. So when I decided to kind of jump into doing a narrative film, I wasn't sure what to write about. And so I kind of created this list of the top 10 stories that I tell at dinner parties. Because I figure, the old adage, write what you know. Mm-hmm. So, I have a collection of stories and just anecdotes that I tell that I've experienced over life. And I have always loved to talk about the school where my mom and my sister teach. It's Turkey Ford Elementary in northeastern Oklahoma. It's a really rural school that is a predominantly Native school. The students are Indigenous from the community, from my community and my nation. And it's just amazing to see, against all odds, really, how these women at the school are able to provide resources and provide safety to their students. And when I was an adult and had gone back to visit, I experienced a student running out of the classroom and witnessed how my mother and the rest of the school dealt with the situation as this young boy is hopped the fence and running off into the cow pasture next door. And it dawned on me that, if this is unlike the many experiences that people have growing up and going to school, that this is unique and it's unique to the geographical location. It's unique to the people who are making up the school. And so I was like, well, I'm going to write a short film that's really a love letter to my mother and the other matriarchs in my community that sacrificed so much, to overcome their own traumas and to create a healthy environment for our community and to preserve what we have and to ensure our future as a people. And so that's where the birth of Little Chief came from. And with Kassia's help, we kind of went to a coffee shop and mapped everything out and created this project and submitted it to the Sundance Indigenous Film Fellowship. And went through a huge process there and managed to, get the project. We got the fellowship with the project and we're able to create the film. But essentially it follows a woman, a teacher, and a young boy who's having a bad day. And it really is just a snapshot of a day in the life of these two people that are navigating what it means to be a teacher and a student in a rural Native school in northeastern Oklahoma.
Right. And speaking of that, it's interesting how there are still those rural schools that are primarily Native American and, Native populations. And I can't imagine what it's like to be in a situation like that for teachers and or students, because they don't have the full breadth of public schools that are out there and, all of the resources, shall we say. So they do the best they can. So I applaud those that teach in that, and for you for bringing that day in the life to everybody that will see this film.
Yeah, and I think that, even in Oklahoma, all the schools in Oklahoma really, I think, are suffering in terms of funding. Oklahoma is, one of the least funded, states in the U.S. And so
let's not get started on that.
Yeah. And so what ends up happening is that, there are, even in that reality, there are certain communities that are even further underserved.
Absolutely.
And so, one thing that we wanted to show in Little Chief is that it is also just about like the resilience and having a good time. There are a couple times where you laugh and you realize that this is the bleak reality, but it is the reality, and that you still manage to form relationships and love and laugh. And, while things may be grim and have been grim for Native populations for the last 500 years, there's a beautiful breadth of love and life and laughter that exists that often isn't told in Western media. And I'm so thankful to have been given this opportunity as an Indigenous person to tell the story from my perspective, my perspective as a woman and, a person that grew up in this community and in this area. And I just hope that we get to see more of that, because it's so incredible, as what Kassia was talking about, the representation, to see so many of my fellow Indigenous filmmakers expressing their stories from an authentic viewpoint, because for Native people, that has been lacking for so long.
Right. And, the U.S. government has done no favors to the Native populations of America. So we won't start on that either.
No, don't go down that road.
We're just, as we were talking earlier, I grew up in the middle of the Trail of Tears, and so did you. And it just, what a travesty, the relocation. But, we wouldn't be where we are today without that. I mean, sometimes the grim current has a bright future, if you will, in what you have been able to do and what you're being able to present at this point, and present that population of Native American
teachers
experiences. Yeah. Did you want to ask? Didn't you have a question?
I actually, no, I didn't.
So where did you film this film? Where was it made?
So we filmed in northeastern Oklahoma, predominantly on the Seneca-Cayuga Nation. We filmed at a small elementary school where my mother, that I mentioned, where my mom taught for so many years. It's actually her first year of retirement. So
oh, wow.
She's had she taught in our community for 30 years. So I'm really happy that she's finally getting to take some time for herself.
No kidding.
But yeah, it was really incredible. We shot with, all of the students that make up the school are all Seneca-Cayuga tribal members. And it was just so cool to be able to go back as like a queer Indigenous woman and like have a film set there for all these young kids to get to come and experience. And I don't know why, but I made the mistake of the day we shot with the youth of wearing overalls. Like, you know, when you make these films, you just wear things that are comfortable. And so I was just being mocked relentlessly throughout the day by these fifth graders as I'm like walking around in overalls. And so they were quite a challenge and such a dream and such a treat to get to hang out with all day. And they didn't make things easy for me emotionally because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm right back in school again being teased about my clothing. But they were just so generous with their time and their spirit and their talent. And to get to film on the Seneca-Cayuga Nation with the youth of my community was just the most amazing experience. And yeah, I don't know, Kassia, if you have any other anecdotes to throw in there, maybe tell them about the snow day, which was, oh gosh.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's just, you know, when you're making films and you're on a very small budget, you're trying to make everything work. And so many people they believe in the vision and they're donating their time and their energy and their expertise, and things always go wrong. Right. But then you've just got enough collective energy to get through it. And we had a 4-day shoot, and the weather was the same for 3 of the days. And then on the 4th day, which was the last day, we looked outside and it was snowing.
Oh dear.
And it was beautiful and lovely. And then, you know, you wake up in the morning, you look out and you go, oh, that's so nice. And then you go, oh crap. Right. Like, you know, half this movie is outside, and we have to have this consistency and continuity in the sky. You can't have it, you know, 5 minutes later, it's all of a sudden snowing. It's not in the script. So we actually, another one of our producers, Deidre, she pulled up her, you know, on the computer, she pulled up a weather map, and we all sat around and looked, and she said, all right, well, in that part of Oklahoma, it's not snowing. Let's go. And so we just all piled into the cars and just drove out to where it wasn't snowing and shot the rest of the film. And so things like that, you know, they're just super fun. And just in the moment, you feel so stressed out, like you're aging 10 years a minute. But then at the end of it, you get to look back and just laugh and say, I can't believe we managed to pull it off.
Right. So I have
excited to know. Oh, I just want to throw this in there. You'll be really excited to know that the place where we ended up where it wasn't snowing was Muskogee.
Oh my gosh.
Far out.
Well, I have to say that if it was just snowing up there, if it had been in Muskogee, it would have been rain, freezing rain, sleet, and then snow. Because that's the way it always was. I mean,
we were following the Doppler, and the closest that we could get was Muskogee. So
wow!
We called the police department. Yeah, so I thought that's really funny because that's where you're from.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so now I need to see this in case he can spot anything that maybe he recognizes.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Where in Muskogee did you film? Just out in the outskirts, or?
Yeah, it was ended up. We just went and found like a really small road. It's just 2 scenes, but they were really important scenes of the film, and we just found a road out in the middle of nowhere, and we were chasing the light because the sun was going down, and we had to drive like, you know, so long to find a place where there wasn't snow, and it was one of these weird things where like, we don't really get snow like that.
Right.
So it was November, and it snowed like 6 inches.
Oh my Lord. Wow.
Yeah, it was a freak snowstorm, and it was the last day of shooting, and we were like all super crazed about it. But Muskogee came through.
Well, yay. Anyway, that is kind of a
nice.
cool thing. So
for people who want to see this, and I would recommend that they should, because this movie sounds really amazing on so many fronts. I mean, not just the social impact, you know, we're talking about the Indigenous American people, but on the more personal level, you know, dealing with this teacher and this student. For people who should see this movie, how can that be done? It's playing at Sundance. What's the schedule for that?
So all of the information for the screenings at Sundance can be found just through the Sundance website, and it has it all listed with all the theaters. We're screening 5 times over the course of the festival. We premiere on the 27th, and the film is currently not available online or digitally because we're kind of like just now kicking off our festival tour. But that will happen soon enough, and we're so excited to get to share this film with the world and share the story of these two people and represent, that community and the filmmaking that's happening there in Oklahoma.
So if people want to learn more about the movie itself, is there a social media platform, be it Twitter or Facebook, that people can learn more about the movie?
Or a website.
Or website itself?
And this is for our listeners.
Yeah.
So they can know.
Yeah, sure. So on Twitter, they can just find me at twitter.com/Erica Tremblay. And I update everything about the film. And then also for Instagram, you can find me at Instagram, and then my handle is just Erica J. Tremblay, or they can find the film directly on Instagram at Little Chief Film.
And Kassia, do you have a Twitter or Instagram?
Yeah, so Erica mentioned the Twitter handle that is for the film. So that one's probably the best one to track for the film. And then on Twitter, I'm at KASCHM because my name is extremely long. So I shortened all of it. But yeah, you can follow me there, and I'll also be publishing information about the film as we hear it.
Cool.
Is there a Facebook presence that people can see for you, possibly?
Or for the film, or...
I kind of just don't even use Facebook anymore. I don't know.
I don't blame you.
I wish we didn't. But we have to.
So we don't, I can be found on Facebook at Erica Tremblay. It's a pretty public profile. But most of all the information that we've been disseminating is coming through Twitter and Instagram at this point.
All right. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you both for being on the show this time.
I'm writer-director Joe Ahern, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
God, I haven't heard from Joe in ages.
Yeah. And here's a few selected birthdays for January 20th, 2020 through January 26th, 2020. But we have a couple of corrections from last week. Somehow, I don't know what the heck happened, but I missed a couple of people for January 19th. Our good friend Tim Pratt and also Michael Hickerson. I am so sorry. But
we can't forget either of them.
Facebook is just a pain in the butt whenever you're trying to look at several weeks ahead or a week ahead for birthdays.
Well, sorry for missing on you guys.
Yeah, sorry about that. But happy birthday to Tim and happy birthday to Michael Hickerson, who actually happens to write for us occasionally as well.
Yeah, he does some Doctor Who stuff when he can.
And I have to make... I messed up last week.
Made a boo-boo.
Tippi Hedren was in The Birds. She's not a Psycho. She was not in Psycho. So I don't know whether she is a Psycho, but as we said last week, but she was not in Psycho. She was in The Birds, and I got corrected on that this week. Whoops. Anyway, on with the regular birthdays now. January 20th, David Lynch. How about that? Mm-hmm. Filmmaker.
Crazy man.
And also the filmmaker of Dune. As well as a number of other things.
Eraserhead.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing cult films ever.
Yep. And then we have Buzz Aldrin, astronaut. He was one of the original astronauts chosen in the project that they did in the late 50s and early 60s.
Part of the right stuff.
Part of the right stuff, exactly. He was the second person to walk on the moon. George Burns.
God.
What do you say about George Burns?
God.
Yep. He worked up until a few weeks before his death. He lived to be 100, but I always thought that George Burns was over 100. I thought he was 112 or something like that.
Well, I think part of that stems from the fact that even when he was in his 90s, he already had his 100th birthday celebration. It was part of some gimmick.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's what it was. Anyway.
So he was 100 for quite a few years.
For quite a few years. And then we have DeForest Kelley.
Bones McCoy.
Who would have been 100 on today, January 20th. That was his 100th birthday.
Well, Dr. McCoy lived to be over 120.
Well, that's true. And then we have Patricia Neal, the husky-voiced actress who Day the Earth Stood Still. And I thought I had some other little piece of...
Well, I know that she was for a time, she was the wife of Roald Dahl, the author.
Yeah, and she was also in The Waltons.
She was in the pilot for the Waltons.
That's what it was. Yes.
She played Mom Walton, basically,
Walton,
and the part that Michael Lerner took over for the series.
And then we have Tom Baker.
Oh, my.
The doctor.
The doctor.
Yep. That's all you need to say.
Yeah,
He'd
he's
be
the doctor.
85.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's amazing, huh? And then we have a good friend of ours, Hannibal Taboo. Happy birthday, Hannibal. January 21st, Grigory Rasputin, who was a Russian advisor to the Tsar, who wielded a tremendous amount of power over the Tsar and the Tsarina. He actually came from a peasant background, and he was a faith healer. And he
didn't he have the nickname the Mad Monk?
Yeah, of sorts. Yep. So he was actually he had several weird things going on. He was nuts. Used his influence. Yes,
he was
exactly.
Nuts.
I had a cat named Rasputin, a black cat named Rasputin when I lived in Tulsa.
Oh,
I loved that kitty cat. And then we have Robbie or Benson. Oh, my gosh.
Wait a minute. You missed a couple of people.
Oh, I did. Oh, well, Paul Allen. Sorry about that. How did I miss that? Co-founder of Microsoft. And then Telly Savalas.
Who loves you, baby?
Kojak. And then Robbie Benson. Teen heartthrob. Oh, my gosh. I was...
Yeah, you and me both.
Yep. Most noted for his voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast,
yep.
As well as many other things where he did the voice of the Beast. He actually had a congenital heart defect that led to 4 open heart surgeries.
Ooh.
And
how old was he when they had those?
He was in his 30s, I think.
You're kidding. Yeah. I had no idea.
So, and
I wonder that had a reason for why, because he really doesn't do anything in the biz anymore.
Yeah. He's actually... he teaches at Ball State or something, and just is a photographer and does all kinds of other things.
He's a
heart health activist.
Well, he was a great actor.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching him. I finally got to see him in oh my goodness, this is a movie that was based on a song.
Billy Joe McAllister.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah, I finally got to see him in that. He was great.
Yep. Then we have Benny Hill, British comedic variety entertainer, among other things. Christian Dior, who was a fashion designer, and Wolfman Jack. Famed DJ with a gravelly voice. I had a friend in Albuquerque who did a Wolfman Jack type show. He had a gravelly voice as well, so and looked like Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman, baby?
Yep. And then we have Facebook friend H. Paul Hansinger. January 22nd, Guy Fieri, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I think that he's actually probably... you don't see him so red-faced anymore. I suspect that he had very high blood pressure,
sure.
and I think he's on blood pressure medication now. But with all the crap that he eats,
he still goes to all those dives, and he loves to eat all that food. That, I mean, okay, once in a while is okay, but I mean, well, you have no idea. I mean, you see these episodes day after day, after day after day,
exactly.
So you kind of get the feeling that that's all he does.
Yeah. And then we have Lord Byron, famed poet, and Don Juan, if you will. He loved the married ladies. He had several affairs with married ladies, and even had an affair with a young man while at university.
Why not?
Yeah. John Hurt. Wow. Many memorable roles.
I know.
Actor. Just incredible.
I think... Well, of course, my introduction to him was Alien.
Yeah.
But I think the role that I really like him best in was in Contact.
Yep.
He was great in that.
He was really great. And then Steve Perry.
Formerly of Journey.
And Bill Bixby.
The Courtship of Eddie's Father.
And he was Dr. David Banner.
He was also David Banner. But I think what I really liked him as, there was a CBS TV series called The Magician.
A CVS TV series?
Oh, stop it.
Was it a long
Stop
series?
it. Stop it. Go on.
Anyway, what was the name of that?
The series was called The Magician. He was a detective, and he was a magician that actually did all these acts. He was played a stage magician, and he would use his skill as a magician to aid the police.
Huh. Interesting. That was fascinating. And interesting thing that somehow the voice activation on my iPad activated, and so the music stopped there for a moment.
that was wild.
It was really weird. Anyway, then we have Jim Jarmusch, filmmaker, most recently of The Dead Don't Die.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
People,
we talk about that film all the time. You have to see that film.
movie.
It is incredible.
It is
wild. Craziness.
I mean, I have never seen a more insane zombie movie in my life. It's hilariously
It's a
funny.
send-up of zombie
Total
movies.
send-up. I mean, it's fantastic. And one of the best independent films I've ever watched.
And D.W. Griffith, early film director, he pioneered the feature-length films, and with Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks, created United Artists. However, he was a little controversial because his film Birth of a Nation was extremely racist.
I thought that was a drag queen.
Well, that's Bertha the Nation.
Oh.
This is Birth of a Nation. Was extremely racist in its content, and it never recovered from that. Let's see. Then we have, who is this? John Wesley Shipp. Flash.
Wrong Flash.
Oh, wrong Flash. Still, again.
And we're talking with this. He took on the part for television back in the late 80s, early 90s, again for CBS. And he reprised the part.
Yeah.
For the CW on their big, I mean, he literally reprised that same character in the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
It was great to see him actually take on that role again.
Well, he also played.
Well, he played Barry's father, but
Right.
okay. So, but that was a nice little send up to his contribution to the series. But then to actually have him return as the same character, well, I thought was a nice touch.
And then we have Graham Kerr,
the Galloping Gourmet.
Oh my Lord, that was
a great show. I loved it.
Late 60s, wasn't it? Or very early.
At
70s.
the latest, it was late 60s. I thought it was more early 70s.
Yeah. And then we have Facebook friend Luciana Fallhaber is a filmmaker herself. Tony Padegimus. And then Sandra Camaro Saldivar, a former coworker of mine.
Uh-oh.
January 23rd, Randolph Scott.
Randolph Scott?
Yes.
Randolph Scott.
Yes.
Of Blazing Saddles.
He was one of the most recognized Western actors of the time. Interesting little tidbit of information. He shared a house in Malibu for 12 years with Cary Grant. Do the math.
Figure it out, people.
John Hancock, founding father, largest signature on the Declaration of
so
Independence.
that fat George could read it without his glasses.
Edouard Manet, a French painter, contemporary of Degas. He was pivotal in the transition of realism to impressionism. And then we have Gertrude Elion. She was a biochemist and pharmacologist, Nobel Prize in 1988 in medicine for the rationale, her rationale in drug design. Her work led to the creation of AZT, as well as anti-rejection drugs for transplant patients, and antiviral drug used in the treatment for herpes. And what her rationale in drug design was to figure out, what does the drug do? What is its mechanism of action, rather than using trial and error? So that was what that really led to creating more and better drugs that we have today. Then we have Rutger Hauer, Roy Batty in Blade Runner, as well as many, many other things. Richard Dean Anderson.
MacGyver.
Jack O'Neill.
From Stargate SG-1.
From SG-1. And a friend of mine in Albuquerque, Joanne Ramponi, grew up with him.
Oh,
in northern Michigan.
Far out.
So then we have Sonny Chiba.
Martial arts actor who we most, to my knowledge, the last time we saw him was in Kill Bill.
Yeah, on somebody that I forgot to put on the list, Cheetah Rivera. Actress,
How do you forget her?
I just forgot to put her. I have her on one list, but not on the other. So, anyway, then we have David Arnold, film score composer, and Muzio Clemente, composer. He was actually engaged in a piano competition with Mozart in 1781.
Oh, okay.
So, and he was influential on the works of John Field, Meyerbeer, Beethoven, and Chopin. January 24th.
You forgot somebody.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Who did I
You.
forget? Oh, me? I have a birthday?
You've got a birthday on January 23rd.
Yeah, and I'm old.
We don't talk about that.
We're not talking about that. January 24th. John Belushi, Saturday Night Live, Animal House, among many other things. Blues Brothers, many, many other things. Neil Diamond, singer. What do you say about Neil Diamond? Oh, my gosh.
Sadly, he had to retire because he just not mental illness, but I think it was just memory loss. He just couldn't remember the words to his songs anymore.
Yep. Ernest Borgnine, actor, most commonly known for McHale's Navy. He actually served in the Navy twice. He actually was honorably discharged in 1941. And then after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, he re-enlisted.
Wow, good for him.
And he also he didn't get into acting until in his 30s. His first gig was in 1951.
Well, he was a natural.
Yeah, several other films: Ice Station Zebra, Poseidon Adventure, Black Hole, Escape from New York.
God, you had to remind me of Black Hole.
Yeah. And then we have Warren Zevon, Werewolves of London.
Yeah.
He was a very colorful character. Interesting. He grew up in the Chicago area and then moved to Fresno. And he was a regular at Igor Stravinsky's house, taking lessons from Igor Stravinsky, studying with him. He also roomed with Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham at one time, early on.
Okay.
Just in the very early days of Fleetwood Mac. And his first album that he released featured several members of Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, Jackson Browne, who was a very close friend of his, Linda Ronstadt, and Carl Wilson. Mm-hmm. And he died at the age of 56 from mesothelioma, which is a disease caused by asbestos inhalation. So then we have Michio Kaku, physicist, teacher, author, all-around wonderful science guy that makes it
he's one of those people that transcended
accessible.
He made that transition from science into pop culture.
Yeah, makes science and physics and string theory accessible to the masses. And then we have Mary Lou Retton as Tiny Tim, only on IBC. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Gold medal gymnast.
Yes. And then we have Pierre de Beaumarchais, French revolutionary. He was the writer of the 3 Figaro plays. So we have The Marriage of Figaro. We have Barber of Seville.
Not Barbara.
And then we have the...
Actually, that's your gift.
That's fine. That was the doorbell ringing, yes. What was... shoot. What was the name of that?
Ghost of Versailles?
The Ghost of Versailles, yes. And he wrote that, which was performed at the Met. A very strange production. Anyway, he actually... Beaumarchais appears in that opera. It's kind of a send-up of everything. So, anyway, January 25th. Etta James, singer, woman of color. What a fantastic voice. She was an incredible singer. And then Robbie Burns, one of Scotland's favorite sons. He was National Poet of Scotland. Wrote quite a few poems in the Scots dialect. Today you would call him and his work political activism. And he actually wrote Auld Lang Syne that we sing today. And then we have Toby Hooper, director, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And we have Facebook friends Steve K, Katie Salidas, Jeannie Koch, and Craig Stepp on the same day. How about that? Happy birthday, Jeannie and Craig. January 26th, Ellen DeGeneres, out and about talk show host and philanthropist, among other things. Paul Newman, actor and philanthropist himself. He was Doc Hudson in Cars. Yep. And his Newman's Own line of food products gives all of its earnings to charity, over $100 million so far. Bob, just a bit outside, Euchre. What do you say about him? Anything?
Mr. Baseball.
Yep, Mr. Baseball. And Bessie Coleman. She was the first female civil aviator with a flight license and a woman of color. She was a barnstormer performing tricks when she died in a crash, and she was trying to earn money to make enough to set up an aviation school for people of color. So then we have Edward Van Halen. Who is that? Dutch singer, songwriter, and inventor?
Guitarist who is not playing anymore.
No, he's not.
No, he's not playing anymore. He's got health issues.
Yes, he does. And then we have Maria Von Trapp, stepmother to the Von Trapp family singers. And just kind of, how do you solve a problem like Maria? Yeah. Gene Siskel, movie critic for, what was it, Chicago Sun-Times, I believe.
I think
and then
so.
with Roger Ebert, they had the Siskel and Ebert thumbs up and thumbs down. Jacqueline Dupre, cellist. She attracted attention at a very early age and is said to be one of the best cellists of all times. At the age of 28, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which cut her career extremely short. Anita Baker, singer, and Gustavo Dudamel, who is a Venezuelan conductor and violinist. He is the music director for the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And last but not least, friend of ours, Angelo Dell'Aquila. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
This is Pinky here. You and I and the brain are listening to Krypton Radio. Sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. Love.
Go give a listen to our friends over at Krypton Radio. You can go to kryptonradio.com. They are not a podcast. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We're going to cut the feedback short here.
Yes, I'm only going to give one. This is regarding the short film Creation that is now online. And we just got a comment from Patricia Chica. She says, thanks so much for this wonderful New Year's gift. Kiss, hug, kiss, hug. We're cutting it short because there's something I've been dying to talk about, which we'll get to later.
Yep. And you can leave a comment on our Facebook page or at tggeeks.com, where you can comment on all of our published content. And you can leave us also feedback on Twitter and Instagram and any place else that you find our content. You can also leave us a voicemail message and we'll play it on air. You can call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And always remember, please play nice. Everybody knows that we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please buy their stuff if you see them at a con. Chat them up, chat other people up about them, have cash for them. Please consider supporting independent creators. Joshua Tree Feeding Program, 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community of Maricopa and Pinal counties. They set up like a store so that people can pick what they want. They are an all-volunteer organization. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree either through a single gift or a monthly recurring gift. Go to jtfp.org. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
So there's a show that...
you want to talk about something else first, so please do that.
What, Neil Peart?
Yes.
I talked about him last week.
I thought...
No.
Is that why you took it out?
Yes.
I thought you talked...
I talked about him last week, which is why we didn't talk about Doctor Who.
Ah. Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Who? What a mess.
Yes. So we've had two full stories. One of those comprised of 2 parts. And can I just say that so far I am less than enthused with this season?
Oh my gosh. Why do they have to reinvent things and make things crazy?
Well, the other thing that kind of bothers me is there's this tendency now, especially every time you get a new showrunner, let's completely
turn it on its head.
Well, not just turn it on its head, but I think you said, reinvent things. They want to completely alter the overall canon of the show and create something that's just utterly revolutionary and new about the character. And now we've discovered that, oh my gosh, the Time Lords have been lying to the Master. The Time Lords have been lying to the Doctor. And goodness gracious me, the Time Lords are dead again.
Yeah, it's just, there's always something weird going on with...
Why not just tell a story?
Yeah, just tell the story. And I think one of the things that I have a problem with the current Doctor Who and has been for quite some time is that in classic Who, and I like the new Doctor Who, I want to say that right now, but in classic Who, they had all of these episodes that were multi-part stories, and they could flesh the story out. Now it's so frenetic and so go. They don't even have time to breathe.
And yeah,
they don't even have time to go to the bathroom.
I know. And this last episode they had, which I thought served some, it was a really good environmental story, could have benefited from being a 2-parter.
Yeah.
But the problem they had with the first big story, even though it was a 2-parter, is that it was just loaded with padding, completely unnecessary action scenes that really had no purpose being there except to make the series look more movie-like and more epic. That's the big buzz thing now. How can you make Doctor Who look epic?
Well,
Why?
Why? Just
tell
the
story.
Exactly.
Instead, and then when you finally do get to telling the story, now you've got no time to tell it. Even though you've stretched that first story into a two-parter, you still run out of time because you just filled it with unnecessary padding just to make it look pretty. So once again, we're back to that style over substance.
I think so.
And that is just infuriating. I mean, obviously we're going to continue to watch it, but so far, I mean, hey, I'll give you credit at least for the last story. You tried to give us a good message, but you botched it in the execution.
Exactly.
So you're kind of 0 for 3 right now, Chris Chibnall,
For us anyway.
For us anyway. I mean, I hope you can kind of, get your head together and start telling some better stuff because the first 3, I've just not been very happy with.
Yep. And that's it for our complaining about Dr.
rant.
Who. And here's the weekly review.
Starting with Sunday, January 12th, and I should say that all these stories that I'm going to mention, the links for these will appear in the show notes for our episode at tggeeks.com. So, starting with January 12th, Dr. Zombie, Monster Family Physician number 83. On the 13th, TG Geeks episode number 256. On the 14th, LGBTQ, oh my goodness, LGBTQ plus film, Are You Hungry? By Timu Niukanen, to be featured at Sundance Film Festival.
Just say the alphabet, people.
Yes. On Wednesday the 15th, Andrea's Angle, Doolittle is fantastical and fun. Also, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announces the 2020 inductees. The ceremony will be broadcast on HBO. On Thursday the 16th, Andrea's Angle, Troop Zero, is beautiful and touching. Also, Irreverent Canadian Anti-Comedy Tapeworm to have U.S. premiere at the Sundance Film Festival. Also, Fright Rag celebrates John Carpenter's birthday with a special limited edition design. And then, on Friday, the 17th, New Sushi number 95, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond. On Saturday the 18th, Ben's Breakdown, The Passing of a Giant. These are my thoughts on the passing of Neil Peart. Also, Gucci's Chime for Change, hashtag Let Girls Dream campaign at Sundance.
And we thank everybody that sent us all of that information. We are covering Sundance and Slamdance from afar. Patricia Chica will be there covering it while on site. And let's see. Now, it's time for this.
Have to give some shout-outs. First to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for republishing our content from time to time. It was put out by the human Arkle, Brian Weber. You can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter, and you do that by searching Arkle at ARKLE, and he is also on YouTube. He has Arkle Studios, where he finished up his Shameless Cash Grab Season 3, and he is currently playing Star Trek Online there. Also, we must give some Facebook groups some shout-outs for also allowing us to post our episodes and articles on their pages. First, to Gay Geeks After Hours. When I asked if we could share our content there, they did say share away, and their URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours. That's all one word. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share all of our wonderful stuff on their page. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek, all one word. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for giving us that permission to share there.
And lastly, we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays and listen to their other content. They're a 24-hour geeky internet radio station, as you heard up above. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can listen as you surf the web. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out our article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, and Twitter and Instagram. Or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Cheers.